Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Tell It As It Is, where we share stories and give God glory. In episode 1, part 1, we had Abigail Boudreaux join us, and she explained her experience with traumatic loss and grief. Join us in part 2, as she talks about the different strategies that she used to help her overcome on a daily basis.
I looked into the future, I saw nothing. It was nothing.
Was that the moment when when you considered therapy? Because I know that you had gone through a period of therapy. What was that the breaking point, or is that like, okay, I need to go get some help?
That happened pretty quick. When
Okay.
the first night that I was back home here, I was there by myself, I think. The week that it happened, we were in Louisiana for a whole week. I didn't really sleep that week, but like it was kind of normal because nobody was sleeping. I didn't really think of anything of it. I just wasn't sleeping. But when I got home, I was like, oh, this is going to be so great. I'm about to fall into this bed, have the best sleep of my life. Like, that's what I was expecting. I'm a sleeper, okay? I'm here for a nap, okay? And so I'm ready. I'm in the bed. I close my eyes and I'm like, okay, are we sleeping yet? Nope, okay. Tried melatonin, didn't work. I was like, okay, well, this is going to be a problem. And then when I did fall into some sort of a sleep, I just had this horrific image of my aunt. And
Oh.
I never saw her. She had a closed casket. I didn't want to. That was a whole debate if we were gonna have an open casket or a closed casket. But I told my parents, I was like, I can't go in that church if it's an open casket. I'm just gonna tell you right now, I can't go in there.
Yeah, no,
So
it's
it was
very
just this
traumatic.
it was just this image that my mind concocted, like that wasn't even real, probably, but that's all I could see every time I closed my eyes. And even though I'm sure it was sleep, it didn't feel like sleep. You know, I don't know if you've been to sleep,
Mm-hmm.
but it seems like your mind is still going, kind of. It's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like that.
Yeah.
And when I woke up the next morning, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to go to therapy because I can't do this. I
Okay.
like that's my weak point. Like sleep, don't come for my sleep, okay? So I was like, okay, this is a problem
As
because
you,
I
yeah.
know myself. I can on a good day take the trauma away. If I didn't sleep good, it's just not a good time. So I was like, I don't want to do this. So
For
I
sure.
just went purely because I was like, something is wrong and I need to be able to go to sleep. So that's how it started. And I'm still in therapy. I go every week. I haven't stopped since then. I have changed therapists since then. That was just through like a technicality of stuff. But yeah, my current therapist, she's awesome. Love her. She
Oh,
is a Christian therapist. She
okay.
works for I'm not entirely sure if the company is Christian based. I think it is, but she herself is an apostolic. So,
Okay. Okay.
yes.
Amazing. So, considering therapy, I know the church is not, well, many churches are not big on therapy.
Mhm.
Um, I don't really know why. I know we're okay with doctors, like physical doctors, but anything when it comes to getting mental, help, it seems a bit more of a taboo. I think it's also spiritualized. It seems like
Mhm.
if you're going through mental quote unquote turmoil, there's something wrong spiritually. They put those two together. Um, so going through your experience, how has therapy helped you?
It has helped tremendously. Case in point, no longer having nightmares. I'm taking my naps
Mm-hmm.
now, okay? No problem.
Good.
Yes.
Great, great, great.
Praise God.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, but she helped me work through yeah, church, the triggers with church. I probably wouldn't have got through that if it wasn't for um all the tools. I do talk about all of that in the book, everything that she gave me. A lot of it is trial and error too, because not everything's gonna work for everybody, but the idea is generally the same, you know? So it was a lot of trial and error working on that. For the longest, I was getting frustrated because all we did was self care. Like, that's all we're focusing on, self care. Which at first I was like, okay, this is cool. Take a little bath, go for a walk, get the routines going, which was cool at first. But then after a year and all we talk about is self-care, I was like, okay, what now? Like, what are we doing? But she made a point, and I share that in the book too. She said it doesn't make any sense to her to immediately dive into a wound and cause more turmoil when you don't even know how to manage what you're feeling right now.
That's deep. That is deep.
She said it's like counterproductive almost, So
Oh,
she said once the goal was for me, once I got to a place where I knew like I had a system. Once my systems got in place, for example, in church, if I'm having a panic attack, go for a walk. Go outside. Just walk down the sidewalk for a minute. Come back. That doesn't help. Sour candy. That works for me.
Okay.
She said anything oral, gum, anything that's in your mouth, especially sour, your brain is thinking like its attention is at this potent thing in your
Okay.
mouth, not what's happening in your body. So, yeah, sour candy worked for me. Try the fidgets, see if the fidgets will work. Through trial and error, I learned that cold helps me a lot. So ice, cold air just blowing on me. A lot of people will think this was gross, but sitting on a tile floor. If I can find a tile floor and I'm feeling some kind of a way, I would just lay on that cold tile floor, and it helps so much. So just knowing the systems, having a system. And then once I was able to have a system, she's like, okay, you know what to do to de-escalate. Now we can work on the issue, the root of the issue.
So how have you managed therapy with your walk with Christ? So how does these two things work together to bring about healing?
Well, I think for me, first of all, it worked because I do have an apostolic therapist. She believes the same as I do. I think it would be very different if I didn't, because I could share this stuff of what's happening in church and she would be able to give me her feedback through as a counselor, but in the context of a church setting.
Yeah.
For instance, when we were trying to like figure out triggers of what was causing me to panic in church, one of them, a major one, was one of the songs that we sang at her funeral. It was actually on her slideshow. Every time we would sing it at church, immediate spiral. Also, the noise. Eventually, we did find that crying was a trigger, which is crazy because, hello, it's a church.
Yeah.
So that was a thing. So she was just be able to break down things that you wouldn't think about. Like, I wouldn't think about seeing people having a breakthrough as a trigger. Like, that's not triggering. That's beautiful. But it's not so much, it's not them having a breakthrough. It's seeing somebody cry brings me back to my mom screaming in this bedroom. Even though I may not be connecting the dots in that moment. You know what I'm saying? So she was able to do that, explain it that way. I don't think a therapist that doesn't believe what I believe would have been able to do that, and I was very vocal about my whole process, mainly within my church, not just so they would be aware of me, but just awareness in general for other people, just to be better for each other,
And on that same note of awareness, do you think the church needs to do more to bring awareness to mental health, to grief, to healing, to all those topics? Do you think the church needs to do a better job?
For sure. I think we have the teaching of the Bible aspect of it down, at least in my church. My experience has been my church has always been pretty um, welcoming of therapy and even things like medication. I think there was a learning curve with medication because that one is very touchy for a lot of people. But even if in my experience of taking medication, I was very vulnerable with that. I was like, I don't care if people think some kind of a way, you know, I'm doing me and I'm sharing what's working, what's helping, whatever. Trying to destigmatize all the stigmas that just church culture has developed over however long of time, because
Right.
mental health is still pretty new. It's not a new concept, but it's new, like in the church, I would say newish,
Yeah, yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Mhm.
So thankfully my church has always been really good about that, but even then there's still some dark spots. So that's why I was like, hey, pick me. This is where I fell in.
Mhm.
Good.
So yeah, I definitely think we've got the teaching of what the word says, but I think we could be better about giving people tools. Because for me, what I find is when I walk away from a message about mental health, it's not usually called something that has to do with mental health. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? I'm sure you've heard them. There's, you need to pray, you need to have grit, you need to have listen to this type of song or don't listen to this type of song, or but it's all kind of based around a spiritual aspect. I'm not saying praying doesn't work, because praying does work. prayer
Mhm.
is prayer is the stuff.
Mhm.
But what do you do when you are physically you cannot pray, you know
Mhm.
like, well, what am I supposed to do if my stomach is hurting, I'm literally about to throw up, I can't, my head is hurting so bad it's like a migraine, I can't breathe, you know that's
Mhm.
it's like
Mm.
it's not practical. Like I was usually able to dialogue with myself in my head still. Even in the really bad panic attacks, my awareness outwardly would be gone, but like internally, like I was aware. It's hard to explain. Um, so I would just be like, okay, Jesus, like we could get through this. Okay, I would just quote the little scripture that I have in the book: "I will live and not die. I will live and not die. I will live and not die. This is gonna be okay. It's gonna be fine." You know. But to be coherent enough to just do this whole elaborate prayer, for me, it's not possible.
Mm-hmm.
I can do the best I can with what I have. But just, yeah, so better at tools that incorporate the whole body, not just the spiritual aspect of it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Amazing. So, what is one thing that you would like to share, a word of encouragement with our listeners?
Word of encouragement, I would just say this all sounds like a lot. It can be very deep. It can be very overwhelming as somebody going through it and somebody listening that has no idea. They haven't experienced anything. But the biggest thing that I could just sum up into a tiny little, there you go, take that with you, is to just keep going. Just don't stop. Even if it feels bad, it's gonna feel bad. I hate to tell you, but it's gonna feel bad. But just keep going. Keep, if going to church is your problem, keep going to church. You have to keep going to work, so keep going to work. You have to keep doing things that's gonna connect you to the Lord. If you can't pray, write. If you can't write, just think about him in your mind. If you can't think about him, listen to songs, listen to worship music. Just whatever you do, do not stop. Just don't stop. Just keep going. Just keep going. Even if it's a little tiny bit. I'll share this one last story because it just reminded me. Also, I share this in the book preview. But I remember one specific lunch I had with my pastor's wife. I don't even remember where we were, but she literally took the salt shaker, dumped it out on the table, grabbed one little tiny salt grain, and said, "This is how much better you have to be. every day. Because
Wow.
eventually you're going to keep adding these little talk grains, and then you have this. And she picked up the whole,
Wow.
you know? So I was like, okay, I can do that. I can handle I can do that. That's doable. And, now here we are. I still don't have it all together. I still have my days. But the point is to just keep going. Just keep going.
Wow. That's amazing. Just keep going. We love that.
Yeah.
For sharing your testimony, sharing your story.
Yeah.
Your book is out. The book, everybody. Life After Death, Healing from Traumatic Loss. And we can find it. If you want to just tell us where we can find the book so everybody can know.
Yes, it is on Amazon. There's that paperback version. There's a Kindle version, and I'm currently working on an audiobook. So the audiobook should be out, I'm hoping, within a month. So that will be also available pretty soon.
Amazing. Thank you so much for spending time with us, sharing your story. It's amazing. It's helpful. I don't know about you, but for me, it was so helpful.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you so much.
Our episode of Tell It As It Is, where we share our story and give God glory. Thank you so much, Abigail Boudreaux. And may God continue to shine through your life and through your story and your testimony. Bless you.
Yes, thank you.